Hi, everybody. This is Anthony, your technology trainer here with cloud storage and cyber security data protection. Just want to introduce myself. Thank you all very much for attending today's webinar. My name is Anthony. I work here at Orange County Realtor, or I'm sorry. My name is Anthony, and I work here at or work with Rancho Southeast Association of Realtors. I've actually been a I work at an association separately. I am contracted out by Rancho Southeast Association of Realtors. I am your technology trainer. And what my job is basically not only to answer your questions regarding rules and regulations of MLS, but I also give trainings on how to do searches in the MLS, how to create, add, and modify listings, create CMAs, things like that. I also train on zip forms, which you'll see me periodically give a class at the association for that. Um, I know Marcel is also giving trainings at the association for putting together your electronic transactions, digital signing, things like that. And I also train on technology. So with that said, today's class is all about cyber security, data protection, and of course, cloud storage. This is actually a two-part seminar that we're going to go over here in about an hour, give or take a few questions. So let's get started. So really, what we're going to do is talk about cloud storage first and foremost. In cloud storage, which one do you use? Well, honestly, um, we're going to talk about what is cloud storage really briefly. Put simply, it's an offsite electronic file storage system that allows you, the user, to access your files through the internet from your various different electronic devices. So, probably remember back in the day being able to take, create a file on your computer and you needed to move it from one computer to the next, right? So we had the old way versus the new way. Starting with the old way, really old way, back in the 80s, you had the floppy disk. And 5 1/4 floppy disk, if I recall, back in the early 80s, mid 80s. Basically, that disk held about 1 MB of information to start off with, meaning that you could stick it in your hard drive or stick it in your computer. You can write some files on it, take it out of your computer, stick it in your backpack, take it to school, put it in your computer, and now you've got the files there. And hopefully, with the floppy drive, you didn't bend it, crimp it, or anything like that, because if you crimped it, you lost that data. And then a couple of years later, about mid 80s to late 80s, they made this disk be able to be written on both sides. So they doubled the memory from 1 MB to 2 MB. And then about the mid to late 80s, we had the 3 1/4 floppy. Now the 3 1/4 floppy was 3.5 inches. Wrote on both sides. You had about 6 to 12 megabytes worth of information. What made this nicer than the floppy was that this was hard plastic versus flimsy plastic. So you had more protection of your information going from one computer to the next, one system to the next. Then a few years later, about mid 90s, early 90s, when CDs came out, we had the CD drives. All of a sudden, we quadrupled from 12 megabytes to gigabytes worth of data. And one shot that I don't have here with compared to the CD was the Blu-ray, where Blu-ray you're putting in gigabytes worth of data. But I consider this an old method right now, the flash drive. So instead of having hard drives or floppy drives built into computers nowadays, you have the little ports. That's where your CD or your USB drive comes in. USB drives for less than $20, you can get basically 64 gigabytes worth of information put onto your drive. That's a lot of pictures, that's a lot of files, especially PDFs, that you can now install. And now you just got to take that from one computer to the next. Now, I consider this the old method only because lots of computers nowadays don't even have a USB port, especially computers like Apple, where they want thinner and thinner computers for you to carry around with you. So they've gotten rid of these external or these ports because now you don't have to make certain components inside that computer. Why is that? It's because of the internet. Everything is interconnected now through the internet. So that's your new way or current way. So what's nice about this is that whatever file I have on my computer, I can put to the cloud. And by the way, the cloud was actually coined by Apple. Apple just basically just said, we want offline servers or offsite servers for people to have their data. And if I can go back real quickly, those electronic files through the internet, that's been around for years. Even before the year, a lot of people go, well, cloud wasn't really there until the 2000s, right? No, not at all. As a matter of fact, cloud drives, it wasn't publicly accessible. It was only in corporate industry accessible at the time in the 80s and 90s. But basically, companies to be able to store all their files electronically, especially if they were into manufacturing or designing or anything like that, they would purchase these large storage areas of computer systems just to store their information. It's actually Apple that made this available to the public and coined the phrase cloud because what they wanted to do is make it sound more appealing to people, right? So yes, this would be the new way, but it's the current way. And what's nice about this is that now a file I can just stick on the cloud drive or the internet. And now all my other devices, my tablet, my phones, my computer at work, all have access to that same file without me physically taking it from one computer to the next. Okay. Now, this is what we have to look forward to the future. And if you're a Star Trek geek like myself, and you might recognize this as Star Trek, The Next Generation. This is called the Borg. Now, what made the Borg very interesting is that they instantaneously shared data the moment one of them learned it. And I will tell you that this future is not too far off. You probably have heard about AI, artificial intelligence, Alexa, Siri, um, uh, what is it? Not Bitcoin, but sorry, I got Alexa talking to me. Um, what is it called? Blockchain, whereby when something happens, everybody knows about it instantaneously, and we're right there on that verge. I would say, short of this coronavirus epidemic being over and done with, I would say in less than 5 years, you're going to start seeing more and more instantaneous bits of information just because people want it now. And we're right there on that verge. Short of us being cybernetically implanted with this information where we plug in and learn everything all at once, that's a little ways away, maybe 10, 20 years, give or take. But as for instant information simultaneously, big data being able to be accessed automatically by everyone, blockchain is the big part of this. This is what we are going to have access to. So no matter what you do, especially when it comes to buying and selling homes, you're going to have access to all the files that anybody's ever done because it's all stored electronically. So with all this said, real quickly, what are the benefits? So basically the benefits of cloud storage is that it's really super easy to use. You don't have to be a genius to use it. You just use it. You can access your files and documents that are stored on cloud drives from anywhere at any time just through the internet. So you just need a strong internet connection or a viable one. And of course, you can easily share documents with other people that might need access to those files. Most cloud storage systems out there do have some free storage depending on what your needs are. And of course, most importantly, everything is always synced. So the moment I put it from my computer to my cloud drive, all my other devices, my phone, my tablet, my computer at work, automatically have that file. So there's really nothing that we need to do special for our devices to get access to that information. It's all instantaneous. So which one do you use? Honestly, there are hundreds and not thousands to choose from, but we're going to focus on the big ones today, the big six, real quickly: Dropbox, Box, SugarSync, Google Drive, iCloud Drive, and OneDrive. Now, real quickly, what we're going to do is we're going to go over the pros and cons of each. And then what we're going to then do in part 2 is go over actually things to think about when it comes to cybersecurity. So real quickly here, starting with Dropbox, one of the oldest cloud drive systems out there, www.dropbox.com. Some of the pros. If you go to dropbox.com, you can actually sign up with an account and get automatically 2 gigabytes of free storage space automatically. You don't have to think about it. You can access the documents anywhere at any time through all your devices. It does have a camera upload feature, which actually gives you a little bit more storage space. This feature is available through your smartphone as well as through your desktop. It does have a very simplified 2-step verification process for security, whereby if you're on someone else's computer and you try to access your Dropbox account, it's going to send you a text message for you to input a number on or into before accessing your cloud drive. So in a way, it does try to prevent other hackers from trying to break into it, but that's about it. Not very overly elaborate. And of course, you can share your files with other people. And of course, it does have a business plan option for you and your team. If you do have a team that you can purchase for a fee to allow your team members to access your Drive account, to access all your files, as well as for them to upload files to your account. Now, the con is for more storage space, you've got to download and invite users to get up to 15 gigs of free storage space. So it does take some time. Basically, once you create an account, you download it onto your computer, you get 4 gigs right there. Then you go into your phone, you download the app, you access your account, you get another 2 gigs. Then you go into your tablet, you access the account, you download the app, another 2 gigs, and then maybe you download it to one other computer. Then you've got to invite up to 5 other people to Dropbox. And then if you do that, then Dropbox will give you 15 gigs of free storage space. Kind of a pain. Now, by the way, you also can't edit any documents in Dropbox. You've got to have the appropriate document editors like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Google Drive, or Google Docs, or whatever to edit any files on that drive or on that drive. But you can't go into the drive and actually edit the document. You have to actually access it in that application or that program to be able to modify it. In file sharing, you got to be really careful on how you set your permissions. It's really easy to give someone edit rights to those documents, which gives them the capability of not only modifying the document, but accidentally or removing the document. So if you gave access to a file to, say, a lender, and they took that document and you gave them edit rights, they would actually be moving it from your drive onto their computer, which you may not want them to do. So you got to make sure that if you're file sharing, that you give them view-only rights. What this does is it only gives them the permissions to view the document electronically, print the document electronically, or save a copy from your drive onto their computer. Other than that, they can't modify your master document. By the way, Dropbox is really, based on its free space, is really not meant for permanent storage without costing you some money. Sure, you can always buy more storage space, but then cost starts to go up. So really what I like to use Dropbox for, if you like to take advantage of free stuff, put files on, take files off. So if you have active clients that are in escrow or you're working with, then you keep their files onto Dropbox. That way everything is easy to access. And then once they get into escrow and they close escrow, once they close, then you take their folder out of Dropbox and put it on your computer and your other systems to keep backups of it. That way it'll free up that 15 gigs of storage space for some other document, some other client. And of course, my other big issue with Dropbox is lack of security. Even though, yes, it does have a 2-step verification process, there is no ability to encrypt files or file folders directly in Dropbox right away. Now, the next 2 systems, Box and SugarSync, www.box.com and www.sugarsync.com. The pros, both of these are better solutions than Dropbox for your business because of the security, encryption, and admin tools, but the biggest con is the cost. So for Dropbox, or with SugarSync, SugarSync starts off at about $7.49 per month to give you 100 gigs of free storage space or 100 gigs of storage space. Box costs you $5 per user per month for 100 gigabytes. Now, Box, if you were working with a team or had a team, then Box is going to charge you $15 per user to access one account per month. So it can get a little bit pricey at this point. Next, Google Drive, www.google.com, the Pro. Real quickly, free sign up with a Google account, get 15 gigs of free storage space right out of the gate. You don't have to do anything special, just get a Gmail account. Second, real-time editing options. Using Google Docs, you can live-time edit any documents, spreadsheets, or presentations with slides, docs, and what's the other one? Sheets. So if you have any Word or PowerPoint or pages or Keynote documents, you can edit them right on your Google Drive using Google's editing suite. Next, you can access the documents anywhere at any time. Everything's, again, always synced, kind of the theme of our story today. Next, easy search options to find the documents very quickly and easily. And of course, you can share your files. As a matter of fact, you can give access in your Google Drive along with editing permissions to groups and individuals. Now, the big con does have a paid upgrade, easily $10 a month for unlimited storage. Really, is that a big con? Probably not. What's interesting is for $10 a month, you get the Google Business Solutions, which will automatically give you unlimited storage space for Google Drive, along with being able to talk with a live person at Google in case you run into any technical issues, which is always a nice thing. Now, here is the biggest con for me, though, is that Google holds the authority, meaning that Google can allow anyone to index the data and find it in a search on Google. So even though they can't access the document, if I as a person wanted to Google someone's name or say their tax information, I would be informed that you have their tax documents. And kind of went through it with an agent one time on this, and they discovered that 43,000 people knew that this person had, or this agent had someone's W-2 statements in their Google Drive account. Even though the Drive account wasn't accessed, it was just found in 43,000 different searches. So it was pretty wild on what was discovered. Now, not to mention also Google holds the authority, meaning that they also own the documents on Google Drive. So anything stored on Google Drive, whether it's documents, pictures, anything, they have full-on rights to use, sell, and not give you a dime for. So what we need to be really super careful of is what gets stored on Google Drive. If there are documents that are pretty private or important, we probably don't want to put it on Google Drive, especially someone's W-2 statements or their tax files or anything like that onto Google Drive, because at that point, Google owns that information, owns the document, that they can actually use it, reference it, index it, and of course, use it for their data collection. So just be really, really careful with that. As much as I like Google Drive, that's a real big con that everybody should be really aware of. Now, the next con here, just super quickly, is that there is a security issue with Firefox. I'm not sure if it ever got fixed, but the last time that I ran into this issue was that I could log into my Gmail on someone with Firefox, and even though I logged out, Firefox still gave them access to my Gmail account or my Gmail Dropbox, or I should say my Google Drive. And then lastly, emails and attachments are automatically stored in Google Drive. Now, the reason why I put that as a con is that if Google holds the authority and every email that you receive from your clients, your broker, your lender or whoever is automatically put into Google Drive, even though you can delete the document, Google has already collected that data. So we all really need to pay attention. And this whole section is all about being mindful of who has access to these documents. When it comes to cybersecurity, if somebody owns your information and you're just thinking that, geez, nobody else knows about it, nobody else has access to it, except for obviously the makers. Now here, this is the big one right here that Google has access to that. Dropbox, Box, and SugarSync so far doesn't. The next one here that we're going to talk about is OneDrive. OneDrive, which is Microsoft, Microsoft.com. You get 15 gigs of free storage when you sign up. Real-time editing of your documents through Microsoft Office 365. You can access the documents anywhere at any time. Easy search options, and of course you can share your files. Now the big cons are you got to pay for $7 a month for 1 terabyte, or you can sign up for their subscription service of Office 365 for $100 a year and get unlimited storage, which is not so bad either. Mac and Android can only access OneDrive if you have an Office 365 account. Other than that, it can't. You can also set your permissions to share your documents, security issues, but you'll notice here that with Microsoft, they do not hold the authority over any document you have. So Microsoft, and pretty soon here with Apple, they do not index your information. They don't let anybody else know about the information on those drive systems, and they don't own any of those documents. So I think for security purposes, with OneDrive and iCloud Drive, the biggest pro on both of these is that your information is totally private at that point. Nobody's going to sell it. Nobody's going to be able to access it, especially with iCloud Drive. Now here, the pros, 5 gigabytes of storage when you sign up for an iTunes account. So basically when you get a phone, automatically syncs your files immediately through all your Apple devices like iPhone, iPod, iPad, MacBook, so on and so forth. Easy open and edit documents from one system to another. You can share your files, access your cloud from the web, and of course set up automatic storage, but you don't need to do that because it automatically does it for you. And of course, iCloud is available for PC users just through the web. Now the big con is the cost, $10 a month for 1 terabyte of storage space, so it can get a little bit pricey. Not very intuitive, but doesn't need to be. Really, it's just automatically there. Not overly Windows friendly, probably because Apple and Microsoft still are at odds with each other. They're the biggest competitors of each other. Currently not usable with Android OS devices. But again, like with Microsoft, they don't access, index, or keep any of your data, your picture files or anything else. So everything is all self-contained. So really, at the end of the day, which one do you use? After all is said and done, it's really up to you. As a matter of fact, most everybody attending today is probably accessing anywhere from 2 to 3 different ones. If you've got an iPhone, you probably have access to iCloud Drive. If you've got Dropbox, now all of a sudden you've got iCloud Drive and Dropbox. And of course, you've got everything else. So if you've got a PC, then you probably got OneDrive, just because you have Windows 10 and all the new Windows products. So you've got everything right there. All right. So now we're going to jump down to part 2 here. Part 2, cybersecurity. I get it. No, we all know it's scary. We all know that no one ever wants to talk about it. And why? Because no one thinks that they can do anything about it. Because a lot of times when it comes to cybersecurity, you guys are playing the odds. Like other types of business insurances here, right? Like general liability, like you fall down, you hurt yourself, that's a 1 in 20 chance that you'll fall down the steps and break a leg or break an arm. That's a 5% chance, right? Auto, fire, theft insurance, a 1 in 16 chance that something like that will happen to you. That's slightly more than you falling down the stairs, unless you're really klutzy. But technically, according to the odds, a 6% chance for your car to be broken into or stolen, or your house being broken into, or maybe your house burning down. Professional liability and E&O is a 1 in 8 chance. So you guys are getting, way more liability than your car getting broken into or you falling down. That's a 12% chance, a 1 in 8 chance, or 12% of someone wanting to sue you for, non-disclosure. And of course, employment practice liability, that's a 1 in 5 chance. So workman's comp, things like that, 20%. Scary enough, cyber or data breach is more than 40 to 60% chance of you experiencing someone stealing your data from your computer. That's way higher than you falling down a flight of stairs. Just think about it. With all the things that you do on the computer, your emails, your passwords, everything that you do on computer nowadays, you've got hackers nowadays just out there in masses trying to break into other people's stuff. So I need you to consider this. 92,000 viruses are created each and every day. More than 30,000 Americans are hacked every day in America. Honestly, you as an agent can prevent almost up to 75% of data breaches or hacks if you just implement just a few simple procedures. And here are 3 ways, right? Now, there are at least 15, 20 different ways, but we're going to go over the top 3. Top 3 are, number 1, average or no antivirus protection at all on your computer, or bad ones, right? The second is you have unencrypted files on your computer that people just immediately, when they break into your computer, have access to all these files. And 3, most importantly, weak or repeated passwords. Those are our big 3 things that we need to think about when we want to try to prevent up to 75% of computer hacks. So we're going to start with first, antivirus. Now, I know a lot of people go, well, I bought my computer. It comes with Norton. Isn't that good? I will tell you, not necessarily. As a matter of fact, if you ask any computer person out there, Norton or McAfee are probably the worst antivirus protection systems out there. Usually Norton and McAfee, because they've been around the longest, are usually the hackers' first go-to, that if they can create a hack that immediately breaks that, they're off to the next systems. So right now, the big 3 systems that are out there that are really good for antivirus on your computer devices as well as your mobile devices, AVG Pro. So if you go to avgpro.com or avg.com, that's a good one. Avast.com is another one. And of course, Malwarebytes. That's malwarebytes.com. Malwarebytes. Now, just real quickly, AVG and Avast, the screens shots that I have here underneath their information are actually on mobile devices. So these 2 systems here, being your top 2, actually have mobile device antivirus protection. One thing that we have to consider is that mobile devices, just like any computer, it can get hacked into. So at least when you think about antivirus protection, not only is it your physical computer that you have to protect, but your mobile devices that you have to protect as well. So when it comes to antivirus and malware, all systems have a free service. Now, the free service is just an introductory level of the system itself, runs a very simple virus scan, but it's not really a good choice. They don't look for everything, and they don't necessarily get updated all that often. And nowadays, you want to make sure that you have the latest and greatest protection. Now, you can go for the next level, which is buy it for your one computer or one device at $25 a month. Now that's all well and good, but that's just for your one computer. How many devices do you actually have? Think about it. Do you have a computer at work? Do you have a computer at home? Do you have a laptop? Do you have a tablet? Do you have a phone? If you've got more than one computer device, then you want the highest level possible. The full endpoint protection. This will allow you to download your account and access your account on multiple computer devices. Now, this does get a little bit pricier, between $75 to $100 per year, but this is truly the best service. Not only does full endpoint protection, what does it mean? It basically means you're getting antivirus. You can create a personal firewall. You have intrusion detection. So if someone is in your computer, these systems that are actively running will let you know that someone just broke into your computer. And of course, the full endpoint sometimes even scans your emails for you, which is really nice, and the attachments in an email. So a lot of times, even your clients who may be putting together attachments for you, if their computer's infected, they're trying to pass that infection on to you. So with full endpoint protection, it's going to scan and try to protect every and all of your devices. So that's something that you want to think about. Now, granted, I know that it sounds really costly, but if you think about the cost of doing business, you need to protect that at all times. So step one, get some really good antivirus and malware software for your computer device, okay? So those would be the big three that I would recommend. Now, why, by the way, you're asking yourself, why is cybersecurity needed? Really, honestly, first and foremost, Realtor Code of Ethics, Article 1-9 says it's the obligation of the realtor to preserve any and all confidential information provided by their clients in the course of any agency relationship. This means that it's your responsibility to make sure that not only is your data safe, but any of your clients' data is secured. So as you get information from your clients like tax records, bank statements, signed documents, you are ultimately responsible for that information. It's not just your broker that's responsible, but you. You, as of California state law, are an independent contract business or contractor business. So you're just as responsible as a broker is for making sure that data that you are accessing or given is secured and safe. So this means that we need to take proper precautions when securing electronic data. So this leads us into encryption. You got to think about at least 4 different things to start encrypting, okay? So here are some suggestions. 1, you want to encrypt files and file folders on your computer. Now, there is software out there, but honestly, Windows as well as Mac do have very basic encryption software embedded in their operating systems. A lot of times, all you need to do when you have that file on your computer, like say their tax record PDF or that signed RPA contract, you can right click on it and set up your security options and make it password protected. Now, what I would do in this case for data files and files on your computer is that you're going to actually do a layer of protection. What you want to do is not only encrypt those files, but encrypt the file folders that those files are in. So as an example, maybe I have the RPA contract for 123 Main Street, right? So I've got the file of the RPA contract in a folder of 123 Main Street, which that folder is in another folder called buyers. I need to encrypt all 3 of these sections. What I want to do is I want to make it difficult for a hacker to get into these files. And the more encryption they have to break through, the more frustrated and intolerant they're going to be. Doesn't mean that they can't break in, but what we want to do is that if a data breach does happen, that the files on our computers are safe. So what you want to do is encrypt those files and file folders. Now, by the way, if you want something a little bit better than, say, just Windows and Mac's operating system encryption software, which They're not bad. They're 32-bit encryption, but if you want something a little bit better, try out VeraCrypt, VERACRYPT. It's free to download, but it will encrypt 128-bit encryption on each of those files and file folders if you choose to use it. So I would recommend doing something like that. What you want to do is make it hard for them to break into. Now, our earlier talk was about encrypting or cloud drives, right? Well, if you notice that none of the drive systems that we talked about have any encryption software, short of Box and SugarSync, not without paying for it. This is where we want to think about Boxcryptor. Boxcryptor does have a free download for one cloud drive for you to encrypt files and file folders onto. Because once you put that document onto that cloud drive, it becomes unencrypted. So what we need to do is encrypt those files and file folders on our cloud drives. Now, the $48 per year fee for that Boxcryptor does allow you to encrypt up to 3 different cloud drives for all of your different accounts, or all your files and file folders on all 3 of those types of accounts. So for $48 a year, on average, if I've got Google Drive, Dropbox, and OneDrive, I can now encrypt all those files and file folders on those various different platforms for $48 a year. Third thing to think about encrypting is your mobile device. Make sure that on your mobile device that you activate your fingerprints and your face recognition software. That way, if somebody steals your phone or you lose your phone, they can't just turn it on and swipe it on. We take our phones for granted. How many of you, I'm sure, do banking through your phone? You download, say, your Chase or your Bank of America or your Wells Fargo app. You log into your account, and now you've got, through your app, access to your bank account. Well, if someone steals your phone, that means all of a sudden they've got access to your bank account. All they got to do is just turn on your phone. So turn on that fingerprint or that face recognition. What's nice is that Apple automatically takes that thinking out, meaning that all you got to do is, all you got to do is look at your phone. So now when you buy a new Apple phone, they automatically, when you're setting it up, make you look at the phone, and they make you look at it from different angles to make sure that they capture your 3D image on that camera to make sure that you're able to open up your phone and access your account. Now, one other thing that you probably want to access or turn on is Find My iPhone or Find My iPad, or if you're an Android user, Find My Phone or smartphone, or Find My Smart Tablet. So that way, what happens is if someone does steal it, if it's on and connected to the internet, you can track where they're at. But most importantly, you can remote reset that device to its factory settings, right? Because everything's being backed up to your cloud drives, hopefully, knock on wood, you can remote wipe out that system in case someone steals your phone. Because the last thing you want is them to have access to your documents, your files, your contacts on your phone device. Just think about that. How many contacts do you have on your phone device? Your friends, your family, your clients. You've got phone numbers, email addresses, mailing addresses, conversation through text messages. If someone steals your phone, you should be able to pop online, and the moment that phone turns on and goes immediately into the internet, it automatically gets wiped clean. So you want to start doing that. Turn that on. If you haven't turned it on today, make sure that after the end of today's class, you turn that on. Now, the fourth thing you want to think about encrypting is your emails. Think about it. Hackers nowadays don't have to actively break into or go into an email and steal your data. As a matter of fact, most of these hackers today are super, super sophisticated. As a matter of fact, it's been proven that they actually sit and watch your emails for about a week to a week and a half just to see who you're chatting with and how you talk to your individual clients. So it's important to make sure that you start encrypting your emails. Think about it. How many emails do you get where a client just says, here's my W-2s, here's my tax statements, right? Or my bank statements. What's crazy about internet email accounts is that if a hacker breaks into your email, you may not know about it. As a matter of fact, all they got to do is go into the email, download the document, and mark the email as unread. You would never know that that email was ever opened. It's really scary what you can do. So one thing you want to think about doing is encrypting your emails using a program called Mailvelope, mailvelope.com. A really good, quick and easy tool to download. What this allows you to do is create encrypted emails. All you got to do, add the client in that you're going to email to and create a password key for them. Now, what's nice about that is that for them to access that email, even attachments in the email will be encrypted. They have to put in the passcode. Well, how do they know this? Well, you have to tell them. Now, by the way, emailing is a two-way street. So this is where we have to have hard conversations with our client. The conversation should go something like this. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. How are you doing? My name is Anthony. We are going to be doing business together. And part of our business is we're going to be sending each other emails. And we're going to be sending each other a lot of emails back and forth. Now, because of cybersecurity today and cyber fraud, I want to look out for your best interest. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is to encrypt your emails. And I would like you to use Mailvelope to encrypt your emails so that any email I send to you is going to be encrypted, and any email you send to me should be encrypted because I need to make sure that your information is protected. Now, by the way, the password that we should use for each other should be, and tell them what the password is. Now, one thing you should not do, though, is email them the password. Kind of defeats the purpose. Have that phone conversation with them. Do that FaceTime with them. Do that Skype with them, or even better yet, sit down in front of them. A lot of times our clients don't realize, just like we don't realize, how important and vast cybersecurity is, especially email fraud. Why do you all think that we have now a wire fraud advisory? Because emails are being intercepted. Wire fraud is happening because emails are being created by these hackers, and they're stealing close, and I want to say last year it was close to $2 or $3 billion from people. This is the untapped market of people just willy-nilly giving over their information because they see wiring instructions and they don't question it. This is where we need to have those conversations and say, we need to protect your data. We need to work together, and I need to look out for your interests. If you tell a client that you're looking out for their interests, you're now providing something to somebody that they aren't already getting from someone else. Especially nowadays with everybody staying at home because of this coronavirus, and we're now even more online than we were before. This is more important. So these are just some suggestions to encrypt files. Are there any questions so far? No? Okay. All right, next thing. What's your password? 59% of the people use the same password for almost everything. I'm sure everybody attending this class today uses the same password for their bank, for their MLS, for their zip forms, for their whatever accounts, right? Your Kindle, your Amazon Prime, your Netflix. I'm sure you all use the same passwords. 63% of hacks are due to weak passwords, right? We all probably have heard a lot of the big industries that have been broken into because someone didn't change a password or use the word password, right? Like the Sony hack that happened close to 5 years ago, where billions of dollars of information was stolen because one employee's computer had the word password as its password. So what we need to do is have a strong password. Today's software crackers, compute and decipher at a rate of about 1,000 different combinations per second. And that number keeps going up. So we need to create strong, complicated passwords. Now we have two ways of doing this. We have the automated way and the manual way. Okay, two ways of creating unique user IDs and passwords. Very easy, the automated way. Tons of companies out there to choose from. What's nice is that they store your user IDs and passwords. LastPass, 1Password, these are the top two. But here's the con. No company like this today can say that they've never been hacked. As a matter of fact, LastPass was the last one about a year and a half ago to get hacked. So even with all of its security systems and everything like that, even they got hacked and information was stolen. So nowadays, these companies can't say that they've never, ever been hacked. So this leads us to the other choice, to manually create, right? You got to manually create your user IDs and passwords, but we need to make sure that we create good and hard passwords and user IDs to hack, especially when it comes to the password. What I would want you to do is have some basic psychology. Come up with a base section of every password, but you complicate it in such a way that's a mixture of letters, numbers, and symbols, if given the opportunity. But it's the same beginning part for every password. So maybe here in the beginning of the password, we've got 2, capital S, R, pound symbol, percent sign, capital M, the minus sign. Then your body of the password, right, is what you're going to associate with every type of account, document, whatever. So like as an example, we begin every password this way, 2SR pound percentage, capital M minus, and then for my offer, for my transaction, 72 Main Street for that property address. Or maybe my Chase Bank account, or my Yahoo email, or my zip forms. Maybe I even add a suffix at the tail end because honestly, you should change your passwords at least every quarter, every 3 months. So maybe we end it with Q120. That way, when the second quarter comes up, we just have to change one number or letter. Q220, Q320, Q420, then back to Q121 for the following year, right? What you need to do is start creating stronger passwords. So come up with a base psychology or a base for every password that you always begin every password with, and then whatever the main body is for that type of account that you can come up with, and maybe you come up with a suffix if you choose. But if not, just this alone will make it strong, right? With strong passwords, it could take someone about 30 years to crack, at least in that beginning choice. You give them enough combinations that it'll take them that long. Nobody wants to spend 30 years trying to break into a document. What hackers want is instant information quickly, because at 1,000 combinations a second, it's literally taking them only a few seconds to get information. And that's what they want, ideally. So what we need to do is make it complicated for them so that we and our clients aren't the victims. It's somebody else's problem if they don't use strong passwords, not ours. We have to show that we're creating strong passwords, okay? By the way, nowadays, a lot of people are telling you to use sentence phrases, okay? Some type of sentence phrase that you can easily remember, but it's unusual, but then you create your password from it, like this: hi, I'm Doug, and I'm 35 years old. Do you want to dance? Here you'll notice that every first letter with symbol is used. This type of password that you see here at 1,000 combinations a second is estimated to take about 551 years to break into. Now, I know every agent that I've ever taught this to has all said the same thing. Oh my God, I'm never ever going to remember something like this. Trust me, if you create it the psychology way, you won't have to remember overly complicated passwords. If your prefix has enough letters, numbers, and symbols in it that, for that system to allow, and then you make the body of it, some sort of basic psychology, you should be able to easily remember your passwords, okay? Without having to necessarily write them down or put them somewhere in a password list, or even worse yet, don't put them in your contacts on your phone. But honestly, we have to create strong passwords for our accounts. Even encrypting documents, we need to create, because it's password now protected, we need to create strong passwords for encryption. Now, by the way, protection does go beyond just the software aspect, okay? So who's coming for you? Threats, things like that. Now, this is a website where you can actually watch cyber hacking actively happen. And I'm just going to leave the presentation just to show you what I mean. So far today alone, these are live time hacks happening across the world. So now, granted, with the coronavirus, usually by now, I usually see this number in the 40 millions. Today is actually kind of a slow day. 23 million attacks happened worldwide. And you can see where the attack is happening from and where it's going to. And crazy enough, we can click on that country and see the different types of hacking going on. If you wanted to, you could watch this all day long and be amazed at who gets attacked from where. A lot of times you'll be amazed at how often America is attacked from all these other countries. Here, I just find that kind of amazing that all of a sudden we're watching a lot of malware go from the United States into Panama, Israel, China, and vice versa. Here, Australia just sent, somebody in Australia just sent a phishing attack to somebody else in Australia. Here we've got exploitive attacks, malware everywhere. So this is an active war, right? So we've got to be really super mindful of this information. So no business is too small to ever be hacked, right? A cyber attack can actually put you out of business if you're not careful. Because honestly, y'all have heard of the dark web. And there are websites on the dark web that actually sell information. If you notice here, here's a website on the dark web that their top 3 is drugs, human trafficking or services, and of course, data. Data is number 3 in information, right? Because we've all heard the saying, knowledge is power. Data is the new cyber currency, right? Because if you've got that information, people will want it from you. They will pay out of the nose for it. So this is why we need to protect that information, because it's not just, I mean, it's valuable. Identity theft, cyber fraud, everything. So we got to think about taking other precautions. So even though we're doing those top 3 things, doesn't mean that a hack won't happen to us. Funny enough, California came up with a law called California Consumer Protection Privacy Act of 2018. And what this does is it gives the consumer the right to file a lawsuit if their non-encrypted or non-redacted personal information has been subjected to an unauthorized exfiltration, theft, or disclosure access as a result of a business's violation or duty to implement and maintain reasonable security procedures and practices. I know, right? Sounds super complicated. What does this mean? Just means that your business has an expansion of liability. No proof is required. An automatic statutory of damages of no less than $100 per consumer per incident, meaning that someone could sue you if they found out that information was stolen from your computer. So it is vital that we protect information. By the way, the maximum statutory of damages is $750 per person. Now, some of us in this webinar have at least 100 clients or even past clients. Can you imagine if all of them sued you because they discovered a data breach happened on your watch or on your computer and their information was stolen? That right there is about $10,000 out of your pocket that you'd have to pay out to them. And that's no proof required that damages were actually done to them. But if somebody proved that because of that data breach, that actual damages were done to them because of your negligence, then you're on the hook for those actual damages. We've all heard of LifeLock, right? You know, LifeLock's insurance policy is $1 million because if your identity is stolen on their watch, they know that it's going to take at least a minimum of $1 million to reclaim your life. Can you imagine that? This is why data security and data hacking to small businesses is so damaging. I want you all to consider this: cyber insurance. If and when a data breach does happen, then do you have the protection for you and your business? Well, funny enough, with all the insurances out there, especially companies like E&O or E&O insurances, 95% of E&O insurances do not cover cyber fraud or data breach. That's a separate insurance. So Rancho Southeast Association of Realtors has gone out of their way to partner up with a company called 360 Coverage Pros. If you go to www.360coveragePros.com/RSAOR, from there you can sign up for cyber insurance. Now, what's interesting about this is that we've gone out and we've actually looked at all these cyber insurance companies out there. What we liked about this one the most was not only what they did and how they did it, but the cost. So real quickly, 360 Coverage Pros covers first-party liability. So basically any legal expertise and advice. They will notify the affected customers if and when the data breach does happen. So you got to tell them, by the way, I think my computer got hacked into, right? It'll cover any forensic costs. So they will actually do the investigation for you, okay, to find out who broke into your computer and if, they can get prosecuted. The cost of any business interruption that you might have, public relations, crisis management, and of course, data recovery if any information has been stolen from your computer. But what's nice about this is that this is the only insurance that covers third-party liability. So payments to those that were infected or affected by the breach, so your clients. Cyber extortion costs, so if someone's trying to extort you for $10,000 to get your data back, this insurance will cover that. Regulatory fines and penalties by the state, accounting costs, settlements, out of court, things like that. And of course, costs of responding to regulatory inquiries. Now you say, oh, geez, Tony, that's going to be super expensive, right? Not at all. Not at all. If you only want $250,000 worth of coverage, it's only going to cost you $200 a year. So about, what is that? Less than $20 a month. Now, what's nice about this is that, say you as an agent want $1 million worth of coverage, then it's only going to cost you $400 a year for it. And what's nice is the deductible is only $500. I think the next best one that we looked at was State Farm. Now, State Farm had a maximum coverage of $125,000 at $25 a month, but it only covered first-party liability. So it only covered that first section there. But the deductible was $10,000. So this particular insurance really is cost-effective for you as an agent/business contractor. So I think even as a broker, this is a really good tool for you and your agents, because think about it. When someone sues a company for data breach like that wire fraud, are they suing just the agent or just the brokerage? No, they're suing everybody involved. They're suing title, they're suing lenders, they're suing agents, they're suing brokers. Brokers are looking out for themselves. Agents have to look out for themselves too. They can't just depend upon the broker, especially if the agent's computer was the one that was at fault. So you as an agent have a responsibility to make sure that you don't go out of business because you didn't implement the correct security procedures. So you want to prove that, right? So getting cyber insurance is going to help you out, I think. Now, You probably remember the Equifax data breach that happened. I will tell you the scary numbers have actually changed. As a matter of fact, it was disclosed that more than 143 million people were affected by their data breach. Okay. As a matter of fact, what's scary is that it was over 500 billion people that were actually affected by this data breach. Now, what was crazy was the hack happened back in July of 2017, but Equifax did not tell anyone until September. So 3 months went by before they even divulged that information was stolen. So what you want to think about, not just for yourself, but even for your clients, is to freeze your credit. Okay. Now, funny enough, it doesn't cost you any money to do. Just contact the 3 different services, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, and you're going to password protect your credit score. So real quickly, I'm just going to play this video real quick if I can. And I might have to leave this in order to play it. If this will open up. So here we're just going to play this short little video. Unfreeze. So there we go. So just real quickly, just to be mindful, freeze your credit. It's really easy to do. It's not hard to unthaw it. So I would say not just for yourself, but even for your client. So what you want to do is tell your clients at least think about it, protect your data, protect your credit, things like that. And maybe while you are in the process, you tell them to freeze the credit and then say, you know, have the lender talk to them maybe a day or two before to unthaw it, just before they actually create the loan. So that way, the lender can actually run the loan without any delays. So that's what I would do. Okay. Well, are there any questions about what we went over today? I hope everybody enjoyed today's webinar on cybersecurity and data. And I want to thank everybody much for attending today. Again, thank you for attending our class. I hope everybody did enjoy today's webinar. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to give me a call at 949-268-0404, or you can feel free to email me. My email is Tony, Tony, at ocar.org. I hope to hear back from you all soon, and I hope you all have a great and wonderful day and enjoy this beautiful weather that we're having, and uh, enjoy protecting your computers and your devices, and your data. Have a great day.